Shari Lynn, welcome to Nature of Reality Radio. Where did I hear about you? I don't know. I must have met you somewhere. I must have got your card somewhere. Saw you at some conference. Maybe you can answer that for me. But I'm glad we're Facebook friends. I see you put the word Venus in under your name. So maybe you can get into the significance of that when I give you the chance now to explain to the world who you are, what you experienced, your life story for a primary source perspective, why the nickname Venus on Facebook, and everything else you want to talk about. You got the floor.
Well, hello, Andrew. Thank you so much for inviting me to spend this time with you. I'm very excited. I mean, we're in 2020 and it's time to get really serious. It's time to have fun, but be seriously spiritual at this point is really what I feel is coming. And definitely, welcoming that Age of Aquarius vibe is it's an exciting time to be alive. And I'm an Aquarius myself, and I'm very Aquarian. And the older I get, the more I embrace more and more about that Aquarian energy and just how much I love it, being a humanitarian and, just being aware that we have this purpose in unity. We have to do this in unity. And it's such a beautiful time. So, yeah, I've been working with energy in this lifetime for well over 30 years, consciously be working with energy. Came into this lifetime being able to recall a lot of past lives, and it seemed like that would happen through my relationships with other people. And then the older I got, it was my intimate relationships with men that would show me my past life karmic connections with them. And so that, of course, I had a lot of questions. So I dedicated myself to understanding why I was getting these awake visions and being able to, tune into that type of energy. And, I've had a son. I was married. My first marriage was very, very karmic. I have a son who's now 30, but I pretty much dedicated my life to, understanding energy, and I was ordained at the age of 26. So I spent 3 years studying with a teacher, and then was ordained at 26. So in my 20s, and I should have been out like really partying and having a great time, I was really really involved in wanting to know more. I had a lot of questions, so I went down this spiritual path, and I'm really grateful because I really got a lot of the old school spiritualism as my roots, which has helped keep me grounded through a lot of the work that I've been led to. And in 2004, I opened a metaphysical store in Ashtabula, Ohio, and it was called the Silver Branch. And blessed to have been able to have that experience and to, create a community of people who were seekers wanting to know more about energy and using tools, because I'm very, very much into crystal energy. Have always loved it ever since I was a little girl. And I love all kinds of tools and the use of the orgonite now and the pieces that are coming out with that type of technology. And the technology that I create myself in using all of these different tools in conjunction is just so fun. So along my journey with the store, I met some really amazing people and was able to travel a lot and do a lot of these larger, expos and shows in LA and all across the United States with a friend of mine. And it just led me more and more and more into wanting to search deeper into this information. And in 2005, I came across Barbara Handclaugh's work when she was at Lilydale. So I went to every activation for the 9 dimensions that Barbara Handclaugh had presented at Lilydale. And once I really started to understand that information that Barbara brings forward, and she's a record keeper, an astrologer, an author, and I would hope she's very well known to people. the alchemy of the 9 dimensions, just I've found that having an understanding of that work has been able to help me with different energy work and, the study of Gnosticism. I really love it. I understand the Sophian myth to a certain degree, and whatever I've learned in the work of the dimensions themselves and working with Pleiadians, Arcturians, Andromedan energy has really helped me stay grounded and helped me be able to use the lenses that are within us innately in the human body, innately, to be able to tap more into the dimensional consciousness. And I'm very grateful for that. And you had mentioned my Venus in parentheses under my name on Facebook. Well, I believed that I was working with the archetype of Ishtar in this lifetime, and that held very strong lessons for me, especially when it came to my relationships. So really dove into the archetypal energy of, the gods and the goddesses and all of that, and actually worked since the early 90s with, tapping into God energies and communicating, face to face with these entities, deities, whatever was coming through at the time. So embodying the archetype of Ishtar in my lifetime led into this whole other evolution of self, taking me deeper into, self-love and healing and, tapping more into my personal purpose and what I have to offer to humanity at this time. So what I've learned about Ishtar and where I'm at with that now in that evolution, I believe that, there are a lot of women that embody these particular archetypes, and whatever we can learn about ourselves and about the evolution of those particular archetypes is assisting everyone on the planet. So what I have discovered is that her true evolution, the evolution of Ishtar, is Venus. And the more that I learned about the Venusians, it just all of my studies just seem to, coagulate together into this this beautiful connection to the starseed connection. It goes even deeper. It goes way beyond, just studying the archetypes that are mirroring back to us what we've created. We created them. So it's been an interesting journey. I mean, I've studied so many different things for all these years, and it's time to really start moving forward and helping people understand that they are powerful, conscious creators. And the key word is conscious. The more that we're more conscious with ourselves, and the more that we have a desire to understand, what this experiment of this lifetime, our lifetimes, this experiment, that was put here for us, the more that we can understand the mechanisms of that, the more that we can move forward helping other people understand that we're all in this together. So that's kind of where I'm at, is I want to be of service. I'm a really great connector of people and energies. So this is the year 2020. I'm totally open for everything that the universe has coming at me, and it's already started out with a bang. So for that, I'm grateful.
Yes, and it's a 4-year when you have the digits, but in a sense it is a fresh start because it is the year of the rat, which is the first animal in the Chinese zodiac. So I guess it all depends on your point of view, but then again, every day is a fresh start. So it all depends on how we are, what our consciousness is at any given time, and where we're gonna go from that onward. And by the way, I found out looking at the comments that it appears that we met at Empowered Light Holistic Expo in Oaks, Pennsylvania. Were you a vendor or a speaker there?
I was a vendor there.
Okay. You heard about the guy who got kicked out for being barefoot, right?
I don't know, like I quit. I did her first year, and I think 2 shows after that, and then I hadn't been able to go back with
Okay.
time constraints
Well,
and
I
other
was the
things
guy who
going
got
on.
kicked out for being, well, it's a long story, but since you said you hear my story, and all the listeners, I'm sure, get a kick out of this, but it just goes to show how screwed up our world is and topsy-turvy and all. But I went to the Inter-Galactic Healing Expo in April of 2019, and I went barefoot because it was a spiritual expo. It seemed very appropriate. I'd been barefoot all day on Saturday, and then all day Sunday, and then right before the last presentation, a guy, security guard, tells me you got to leave because you don't have shoes, and I'm thinking this has got to be a joke because I've been barefoot all day long. And you don't kick someone out of this just like you don't kick someone out of a yoga festival for being barefoot. It makes no sense. And well, I realized after consulting Sue Greenwald and a bunch of other people that were speaking there and trying to Sue Greenwald told me I was really hard to work with because of the hell I went through to try to get reinstated at that conference, even when as far as saying I would bullhorn the conference when the speakers aren't talking to make my point across. And boy, they called the police on me and other things. And Sue Greenwald, when I went to her conference in Florida, was like, "You're lucky I didn't kick you out of this conference." But we reconciled our differences. It turns out that was a cover story. They kicked me out for being barefoot. It turns out when the people at that conference, the audience members, they didn't like me because they like the same reason people don't like David Icke because he seems to talk about negative things and they don't like that. And I got kicked out because
Were you presenting or were you
no, I was
interviewing?
an
You were
audience
interviewing?
member, and the speaker said, "I want this to be interactive," and I got interactive. And naturally, being a radio host, I'm going to have a unique style, but it came back to haunt me because people in the audience didn't like that and they complained, and then they make up some ridiculous excuse about me being a barefoot liability as a cover story, and I can never go back to that conference again. But this just goes to show you how that we are living in a matrix still where things like this are bound to happen. And if everything was going smoothly, things like this wouldn't happen. And
Well,
well,
yeah, it's not very comfortable for people. I mean, we're talking about issues that crack people's skulls open, and it's like I've had my skull cracked wide open. I've had my brains put back in, and I seem to be all right, So we're here to help people with this information because what's coming is not going to be comfortable. It's not. And we have to take a very light-hearted approach to what's coming, but we have to be prepared. We have to be ready, and yeah, it's going to take all of us working together.
absolutely. And this Mercury retrograde offers an great opportunity to retool and everything. Everybody seems fearful of Mercury retrograde, but I don't look at it as a time to be fearful as much as I look at a time to retool. And you're into crystals. Great synchronicity that I'm having on you on the show now because I'm getting crystals much more in my life now. I made a bit of a sacrifice though. I'm sacrificing yoga and Tai Chi for a couple months so I can buy um, crystals that go along with Aries horoscopes on Astrology Answers. On any given day, they say which crystal is best to work with on an Aries. I'm going to see which ones they say, how many, and buy the Tubblestones off Amazon every day and saving some money by quitting Tai Chi and yoga for a couple months to do that. And it's okay. I'm making these are not big buys. Mercury retrograde says it's okay to buy as long as the buys aren't humongous. And if you got to do it, just dot the I's and cross the T's. But yeah, it's I guess it's just a sign that we're meeting that flowing with life. Do you
Oh
agree or
man,
disagree?
crystals are like little friends. My whole house is full of them. And I've been a collector of tools for a very long time. And it's like rocks are your friends. It doesn't have to be any stone specific for you. It could be any kind of stone that wants to talk to you. So it'd be nice if you could go somewhere and, make friends with them and see who wants to come home with you. It's the best way to buy crystals. I mean, buying them online, I'm not against that. I do that too. And generally I would recommend that somebody, if you're going to buy them online, but there's all kinds of beautiful rocks that want to come and like hang out with us.
Right. Well, as soon as I get the crystal, the first thing I do is take out my 4096 hertz C tuning fork and bang it a few times near the crystal to recharge it. So it's not like I'm making sure that I like you don't have to buy from a luxurious salesperson as long as you like repair the thing that you get, and crystals can be repaired in such a manner. And also full moons work well, and other ways. What other ways do you know of since you work with crystals work well to? And by the way, now's your chance. You want to make a sales pitch out of this? Now's your chance to do it. All the pendants that you offer, the sacred geometry. Tell us about that, how they work, which ones seem to be the best sellers, the website. You got the floor to talk about that as much as you want.
Oh, sure, that's cool. Yeah, the what I create are Pleiadean cosmic healing discs, and the website is Cosmic Healing Discs, and that's discs with a C.com. And I'm really blessed. I'm so grateful that this is how I can support myself. I'm pretty much, I consider myself to be a political anarchist. I don't hop on anybody's boat. Okay. I'm a watcher. I watch. I call it like I see it. A lot of stupid stuff going on. And it's beyond me how anyone can think that having a D or an R in office is going to make any kind of changes with the tentacles of politics on a global level. It's not going to change anything. That's just, so I just wanted to put that out there. I'm pretty much a rebel when it comes to a lot of the systems that are in place. So I'm very grateful that I can create a disc that I can put into the hands of people, and they can use this tool to clear negative thought forms from their field. I mean, our field is very important. There's so much going on in the field, and that's our biohuman field. And it is connected to our physical body. So these particular tools that use light and frequency of light and the full spectrum that I brought into the discs really carries the frequency of the entire spectrum, the light spectrum, into your field. And they can have a physical result of healing in the body. So very, very grateful to create them. They are glass, copper, transparent images, and some I invented the first gel included discs, which I'm kind of proud of that. And I brought the rainbow material into the discs so that the woman who originally came up with these discs, she called them angel discs, and her name was Hallie Deering, and she lived in Sedona. And back in the 80s, she was gifted this technology from the Pleiades, and she called them windows and portals into higher dimensions to be able to communicate with your guides and your angels and things of that nature. And then she would create these very specific images for specific intentions. And she was trying to create a prismatic disc. And what she was doing was she had a transparent image with a Merkaba on it, and each one of the arms of the Merkaba, she would make a different color so that she would bring in the frequency of the light spectrum into your field, is what the intention was. Well, what I did with the Sophia Full Spectrum Healing Disc, it was the first, and it's got a lighting gel in it that has a frequency of 432. So this particular disc, the Sophia disc, is a high heart activator. It lifts depression, boosts the immune system, and brings joy and happiness into your life. It's really gorgeous. And even Reiki practitioners, Reiki energy is centralizing on that green healing ray. Well, this brings in the frequency of the entire light spectrum. When you're using lights through these tools into the field, it can be felt. And that's what's so fun about working with them too, is that, I'm at shows, people walk up to the booth. There's absolutely no, question that, these are discs and that they're beautiful, yet they're, it's something that is a tool for you to take you deeper into your meditations, to clear negative thought forms. So it's very protective of your field. And then with directed intention, they have very specific attributes to them that will have certain healing that will happen within the body. So a lot of self-love with the Sophia Full Spectrum Healing Disc. I'm very proud of that because, they're glass and copper and photographic images or gel included discs with rainbow material. And then I also inlay gold pieces, 18 karat gold pieces that are made from my soul family in Encinitas, California. And I also put in every disc I make, in the copper of the disc, I put a Jeffrey Quarry solution quartz, which is a very tiny, microscopic, water clear, double tourmalated little quartz, and I embed them in every one of the discs, and that just amps up the energy. And they truly are quartz crystal healing tools. And the Sophia, of course, is a very big seller. My new Rainbow Tribe discs they're just so powerful, shining the light through these onto people, and I can feel the energy move in their bodies. And what's the best part about it is they can feel it, especially those that are sensitive, or they'll either be surprised that they can feel it. But that's the best part of it. So I know that I'm doing something that is having an effect on the human field, and giving people a tool that's going to take them deeper into meditation, enhance their prayer work. It doesn't get much better than that, and it's beautiful.
Exactly, and I can't help but ask, because I've had a problem with pendants and EMF protection chips, and even a couple stones too, where some kleptocratic entity decided to take it from me. And one time when I called the people that were selling it and asked, is this a problem? Do people complain about your things that you sell, to your EMF protection chips disappearing and all that? And well, the lady was on the wife of the guy who runs the site. She is a psychic, and she was communicating allegedly with my paternal grandfather on the other side, and he said the entities were taking the things from me as a way of telling me, we're here for you. You don't need to waste your money on these things, because we'll do the work for you, because we're here for you as long as you acknowledge us and ask us. So, have you ever heard of that happening with things disappearing? Because I got a bloodstone, among other things,
Well, sometimes, especially crystals, they're going to hop dimensions. I believe they hop dimensions, and you'll find them, or they're going to come back to you in some weird kind of way. But what you said, something very important, is that, we have to ask for help. And a lot of people don't do that. I ask people all the time, I'm like, do you pray? And they're like, no. I'm like, do you meditate? No. It's like, well, how do you get what you want in your life? We have to ask. I believe that we have higher dimensional beings. You can call them, you can call them angels, you can call them aliens, you can call them whatever is comfortable for you. And they're here to help us. Angels don't have free will. They're waiting for somebody to ask them to assist them. And that I think that's pretty important to know, that ask and you shall receive. Like it's pretty cool.
Right, and you can enhance your environment and all to enhance the ability for these things to come to you. Funny I mentioned that today is the day I just got my aromatherapy, and I started putting clary sage oil aromatherapy in my house, which is the best essential oil for me, because I'm a tiger in the Chinese zodiac. So I figured that that's going to make my environment better, and I have to think that if you make your environment better, then you would definitely enhance the ability for your angels and guides to communicate with you. Now, is that really the case? And also, is it a bad idea to pray? Because when you pray, it's kind of implying lack. So there's a better way to do it than to pray, so you don't get the lack.
Well, prayer and meditation, I don't see it necessarily. It's your belief system. To pray for other people. I've not always liked that idea. I don't necessarily want somebody praying for me if they're thinking that I'm lacking in something. I think prayer and meditation has been a big part of my spiritual base, and the way that I pray, and my inner dialogue has changed over the years greatly. With the more work that is being done in our own evolution, especially at my age now, and I'm really, the older I get, it's got to be simple. And some of the most powerful work that I have encountered is like incredibly simple, clearing our own field and, releasing ourselves from lineages of attachments and contracts. It's very It's very simple, but you have to have a desire to know yourself, know how to be grounded, how to be in your body, how to use what's available to us energetically within our own bodies. And that awareness, brings a sense of peace that I found it's a gift to be able to have a sense of peace, to be able to work with such high energy within yourself, with others, and for all of humanity at this point. We have a lot of clearing work to do, and it really it's humbling. And understanding what true empathy is that, a lot of the things that are happening on this planet, they're designed within this experiment for us to evolve out of it. It's like those that even created us. I mean, you can, like Sophia, the archons, the whole 9 yards. We can go into any of it, but we were created within this experiment. These higher intelligences don't even understand or know what the outcome is going to be. It's and we're doing it. We have a responsibility to be clearing this, I don't know, for lack of a better term, this negative energy. And yes, you've mentioned the matrix, and you can either dwell to be in it or dwell within this lifetime to keep your vibrations high, which your vibration is your thoughts, and understanding your connection to your higher self that waits for us, throughout lifetimes to acknowledge it and awaken to it so that we can be guided. That's our link to our soul purpose, is being in alignment with the higher self.
Yes, and the Higher Self YouTube channel is one of the best YouTube channels out there for expanding consciousness, in my opinion.
Oh, that's cool.
Throw that out. But regarding awakening people and the negative entities, there's a lot of agree to disagree on this, and I might as well ask to get your take on it regarding, well, people like David Icke, the great orator of our time he is, but he seems to be focusing on negative things more so than is probably healthy at this point, seeing that planet Earth is definitely on a positive timeline and is moving on toward ascension. Then again, give him credit, and people like Alex Jones too, even though he seems to have lost popularity and all, but then again, they're still exposing our weakest links, and even though the expression "you're only as strong as your weakest link" has many exceptions to it, I'm sure. In the end, it's not a bad idea to expose weak links, because as long as you've got it, you can't help but say there's a ball and chain on you. So when it comes to these people who seem to obsess about exposing all the weak links in life and finding solutions to them if they can, do you have any comments on the best way to do that as someone who tries to more focus on, I guess, love-based things?
Oh yeah, I mean, when I first started, and it's like over 25 years ago when I started looking at the system and politics and those things that from the underground, all the things that were covered. I mean, you get really pissed off, and you have to be. It's like the symptoms of grief. So when you start, awakening to the idea that, everything that we've been told is a lie, and that, there are so many other species and entities that are coming to this planet, and that, we've been involved in this galactic war. And sure, it's not pretty. It's not fun to give out the information that David Icke does. I mean, I think the man is incredible, and he's been very consistent. And I mean, that overall, like, if I don't like to judge people, okay? Everybody's at whatever level that they're at. And David Icke, I just think that he's been very consistent in his information, and that'll tell you a lot about a person. I don't know what to think with the InfoWars and all those types of things. I think it's very important at this time, with all the new information coming in, and there's false information mixed with information from the light. It incredibly right now, it's mind-blowing to me, because a lot of the new people that are waking up, the younger kids that are waking up, they're getting information that has truth in it, but it's really they're confused when it comes to the origin of that, how it actually really started and where it came from. I think that they're missing some of the information because it's coming at them very fast. It's coming in very quickly, so it's really easy to miss a lot of that information. So I think, it's important to stay grounded and to be able to bring information to people and help people discern that what they're communicating with is of the highest good for all involved, especially them. I'm not one for channeling, and I think that there's a responsibility in knowing who that you're speaking with, and the heart is on the left side of the body, and there's a reason why the heart is on the left side of the body. If you hear or feel on the left side of your body, it's such a valuable tool without the use of a tool other than your body, that if you are communicating with an entity, even aspects of your higher self, you can ask that entity, are you light, which is your left side, or are you night, which is the right side? And you're going to feel it, you're going to hear it, you're going to get an answer when you ask. And then, any energy that is not for the highest good of your soul's evolution needs to go. It's not welcome in communicating with you. There's a lot of entities and energies that want to observe. I think that there's a lot of people that are raising cones of power and inviting particular energies in, be it north, east, south, west, doesn't matter. When you're opening these gates and asking to receive energies, it has to be of the highest and best, or it can't be in your circle. Because if we're not aware of our field, we're going to be susceptible. We're susceptible to these energies coming in. There's a lot of reasons why people could be having attachments come to them. I mean, taking pharmaceuticals is a really good way to have holes within your aura, even if you've got a doctor telling you that it's something that is going to help you. It's a really good way to avoid what is going on, and that seems to be where we're at in our society. I talk to these young girls, they're taking like several different types of antidepressants and all different types of pharmaceuticals. And all that really does is keep you from, learning more about yourself and having experiences, from all this cosmic energy that is available to all of us at all times. And to me, I just find it to be very sad. So in the new earth that I would like to see manifest, which I know will manifest, is that, no more wars, no more chemicals. And it's going to take people awakening spiritually to understand that this is our divine and God-given right to experience joy, bliss, and ecstaticism. The old ways of this planet are ending as we're moving into the age of Aquarius. I'd like to say it's already here. Because if we say we're moving into something, we're moving into 5D. If we say that, we're never going to. It's available now at all times. And it is innate within everyone that you can experience this. So it's very important to know who we're talking to and careful of the energy that we're allowing into our field and those of other people that we're working with. I love ceremony. I love ceremonial tools. I just think that people need to, be more conscious of who they're working with and what energies, are being invited in, and to protect themselves. And that's another benefit of discs, is that, they're going to help protect your field. And I can't think of a better reason to have a tool, but even I know we don't need them. But they're beautiful. If we didn't, I really don't think we need a whole lot of things. It's like all of nature trusts in Creator. And we've really got to start adapting that consciousness within ourselves, is, things could change in a blink of an eye, and we don't know what the universe can throw at us.
Well, there's no question about that, and a lot of surprises do come out of left field every so often. And, well, with that being said, I'd like to move on to some of the other things that you have to offer regarding like the contactee standpoint. I guess you have a lot of information to offer, and well, if there is any like information that you've gotten that you think people need to hear right now, I guess now would be the perfect time for me to give you the floor to like all the hot topic stuff that the contactees have told you. And again, discernment of the highest order here, people. So you got the floor. Now's your chance to spill the beans. What have they told you from the higher realms?
I mean, my UFO experiencing started in December of 2007 when I connected with my twin soul. So him and I have had many, many, many past lives together where we were siblings and we were twins in a past life. That's why we're twin souls. It's not a twin flame relationship. I live on Lake Erie here. I live in Ashtabula, so I'm right on the shores of Lake Erie. And in 2007, I met my brother, Michael Lee Hill, who is, I always called him the leading authority of the UFO phenomenon over Lake Erie. And a lot of your listeners may know who he is. So when I met Michael in 2007, I mean, it really opened me up to a whole world that I didn't have an interest in knowing about UFOs and aliens and things of that nature. And with the work with Barbara Handclough, I knew that I was in communication with the keepers of the nine dimensions. I learned more about them over the years, but felt a really deep connection with the Andromedans, which are the keepers of the seventh dimension. So I was carrying that, but not really searching for the alien UFO stuff. And then where Michael was led was into the Anunnaki, and still it's not my bag to work with the Anunnaki. Okay. And it's just my choice that I resonate more with the Andromedans, the Arcturians, and the Pleiadians. And God bless him on his work with the Anunnaki. I think what he's doing is important on a lot of levels. So when I met Michael, he's pretty much he's like a magnet for UFO activity. And his footage had landed him on the UFO hunters. And it was footage that he had taken over Lake Erie. And I met him right before the UFO Hunter show had aired. So this was right when his journey pretty much started as well, like him then meeting the Anunnaki and his story and things of that nature. So it was a very accelerated time in my life and coming into a lot of really crazy and scary at times information when it came to, what I was experiencing and learning at that time. So it was and this is what made me an official contactee. And, some people may not agree with this. I really don't care, because it was beautiful and fun. And that's another thing I like to say. You've got to have a sense of joy and fun, and that everything is entertainment in your life, because really that's how we should look at it. Okay, it's entertainment, and you can it could be entertainment that scares the hell out of you and makes you want to learn something new. Nothing wrong with that, or it can be entertainment that just turns you on to some new facet of information that you're going to want to dive into. Okay, so I had a mix of all of that going on at this time. So it was in 2008, summer of 2008, and I was at Lake Pleiadean with Michael. And that evening, we were drinking wine, and we were usually pretty high most of the time we were together. If you know Michael, I don't even know. I've never been so high in my life as with him, because it's just I guess the Anunnaki are big on weed. So anyway, it was fun. So that night, we had been walking to this little stage where we were on the grounds of where we were staying. It was nighttime, nothing was going on. And we were walking towards that stage and stopped. And right between these two pine trees was this really bright white light. And it had the shape of a snow angel to it. And it started to come straight at us. We're looking through these two pine trees, and it's coming right at us and getting brighter and brighter. And so it was this bright white light in the snow angel shape with a pink and a blue light on it. And it got super bright, and it spoke to me. I heard it, and it said, "Shari, we love you. We love you, Shari," over and over again. Just like that. It was so beautiful. And I mean, we just both were staring at it. I can't say that he heard what I said. I don't think he did, but I told him, I'm like, that one's mine. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences I'd ever had. And I was drinking wine and kind of feeling sorry for myself that night. And I've drank wine and felt sorry for myself plenty of times, and I've never seen that craft again, not like that ever again. But I've seen many craft. Okay. And what seemed to frequent the shores of Lake Erie here are these red flashing orbs. And they're like Merkabas. They're like flashing Merkabas. And they've come very close to us while on the shores of Lake Erie. And not just that particular craft. I've seen tons of different types of crafts. What would be considered the White Brotherhood UFOs, I've seen them. What would be considered a Venusian craft, a scout craft, I've seen them. I've seen all different types over many years. And I don't seem to see them as often, but it was in 2017, I believe. I was able to film what looked like a bumblebee craft to me, which reminds me of the Venusians. And they're my very good friends. And I don't know if I ever answered the why Venus is on my Facebook page, but that's because the evolution of Ishtar is Venus. And so I've got a lot of friends that are into the Venusian energy. I went in July of 2018 to Mount Shasta with Rob Potter and was at the From Venus with Love conference with Omnek Onek and my really good friend Cosmic Ray Keller, who wrote a trilogy of his experiences on Venus and with Venus. So he wrote the Venus Rising books, and him and I collaborate on a lot of stuff. And we were just in LA for the Conscious Life Expo. He was there with Rob Potter, and I went for fun, and it was just great. But to get back on to my story of the UFO and the, the contactees. And I went to several UFO conferences in Phoenix, and contactees have some of the most amazing experiences. And I think of theirs, and mine was in no way as probably exciting as some of these other contactees, but it really wasn't where I personally wanted to be in my life's work. It wasn't exactly everything that I wanted to be doing. The fact that I make a living making discs and working with what I would consider Pleiadean, Arcturian energies, because that mothership that I call it that I saw in 2008 was, I believe, the Arcturian mothership. So I'm not getting on any craft that doesn't have a pink and a blue light on it. That's where I belong. That's what I'm working with. And it totally changed my life, that experience of experiencing these different types of, craft and the energy that was just opened up for us before 2012. I went into my dark night of the soul in 2009. It began, and it took 3 years for me to get over this dark night of the soul. And it was complete and total hell. And people are like, how do you know you're in a dark night of the soul? It's like you feel as if all of your organs are on the outside of your body. And it doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon. And it didn't. You know, the last year, I know that was a lot of Uranus Mars energy that I was experiencing. And the last year, it took a lot of work. It took a lot to be able to come out of it. And then at December 21st of 2012, I loved the Mayan cosmology, and I really started studying the Mayan cosmology in 99. I started looking into Y2K and was like so fast. I'm like, what does this mean? What are they talking about? And then came across Carlos Barrios's work. He wrote the Book of Destiny and his prophecies with 2012 and the grand alignment, planetary alignment of 2012. And that's when this energy will sweep over the planet, cleansing it. And what it is, this energy is the long overlooked fifth element, which is ether. And what is ether? It's no less a form than anything else. It's the power behind prayer, and it's the energy of that which manifests. And that I just loved working with those energies. Which elemental energy, really powerful when you're understanding how it's mirrored to us from the planets all the time. It's like if we had like Google space or whatever they call it, where you could see the planets and the constellations, if we were paying attention to that all the time, and what is being mirrored back to us, we are in complete alignment with how the heavens are moving all the time. And it really blows my mind that we don't look more into events that happen in our life astrologically, because everything is astrologically explainable. And I heard you had like something going on with a family member. Like, I don't know if you said that, did you say your mother had a stroke?
Oh, my maternal grandmother, and she's unconscious now and on the bed breathing, and basically a vegetable. That
Aw.
89-year-old woman, and she it's taken a little bit of a toll on me. When my paternal grandmother passed away at the ripe old age of 99 back in 2017, I didn't mourn her death. I mean, because it was kind of expected, and it turned out to be a blessing, considering that my grandfather told me when he was being channeled by a psychic that she would live to be 102, and he lied to me about that on purpose because he knew that I would tell her that, and that sped up her death. And I found out when I listened to a psychic at a conference at Bucks County Community College who channeled my grandmother, that was the whole purpose behind him saying she'll live to be 102, so you could tell her that so she would speed up her death and pass away. So I guess the reason I'm getting all emotional about my grandmother now is, well, so I don't mourn her. I mean,
Aw.
please, but it is taking a little bit of a toll on me. And I just had a recent guest who decided not to have the interview that I did on the air. She wasn't at her best game because she never done a radio interview before, and at that time I was not at the best either, because that was just right after I heard that my grandmother had basically had natural lobotomy. So
Oh my goodness. Well, I just heard that. I was listening to some of your interviews today while I was working, and I'm coming up on the year anniversary of my mother having a stroke, and it was March 23rd. And my mother was in ICU for 23 days. And we had opted to do the PEG and the trach for her because we thought she could be really rehabilitated. And I felt she had a lot of strength still within her, but her little body just couldn't take it. So I had her in a nursing home for only 2 weeks, and I said, no, I just can't do this. I was a nervous wreck ever leaving her, and I had called a family meeting, and I'm like, we're going to bring her home. This is what we're going to do. And I ended up, living at my mom's house, living in two different places actually for 6 months, and took care of my mom. And my mother had crossed over November 12th of last year. So it's only been a few months since my mother has crossed. And I knew that my mother would die during a full moon. Okay. And my niece came in for the last few weeks before my mother had crossed, because she's a nurse and they were really medicating her. And I really don't think I could have handled that part of it as well, So it was better for me to go to work and see her every day, but not be, living there. So, so my niece had called hospice and called all the family in and said that, that she's breathing four breaths a minute. She could go anytime. And I'm like, she's not. I just knew myself that she wouldn't cross during a new moon or a dark moon. It wasn't going to happen. But I didn't say anything to my family. I just was there in support of my mother and them as well. And sure enough, I had to go to Massachusetts. And I got back on the 10th. And it was the waxing gibbous moon on the 10th. And it went full the morning that she died, November 12th. But I had told my mother, I'm like, just ride the moon out, Mama, just ride out the moon. And what was fascinating was, after I got the call that my mother had crossed and went to the house, my niece had told me, she goes, I was up at 7:45 a.m. to medicate her and she was breathing. At 8:45, she was no longer breathing. Well, the moon went full at 8:36 a.m. So I ran my mother's birth chart and the time of her death together. And it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful to see how the planets were supporting her transition at that time. It was just gorgeous when, you look at where's Scorpio, where's my mother's Scorpio, which was her, it was her moon, or she had a Taurus moon and a Scorpio rise. And that energy was so present in lifting her through this transition. It was really beautiful because my mother had found peace in her, in her transitioning. I think it was about, maybe a week to 2 weeks before she crossed. And then I really started to calm down when that peace set in. So, you're going to mourn. You're going to mourn and you're going to feel stuff. And it's the art of allowing and understanding that our emotional body is the connection that we have to imbalances and being unhealthy in our life. So, where are we letting these emotions, reside in our body? So it's like you have to allow these things to happen and be gentle with yourself and really kick up the self-love and the self-care during those times as well, when it's really hard to stop doing that, when you have families and you're losing someone and they're actually just going home, and it turned out to be, there's blessings in my mother passing. And I look at the numbers. I mean, she died on 11/12 and our birthdays are, hers is February 11th and mine's February 12th. So boom, there were the numbers. And then 2 weeks later, after my mother had crossed, a tree, a big red oak, landed on my mom's house. And it was 12/2, which is 2/12, my birthday. And I think it was my mother saying, Shari, get your shit together and make stuff happen, and get moving, that this is it, your life is changing. And I believe that my mother's happy on the other side, but I would rather have her here more than anything. But there's gifts and opportunities for us all the time. And I believe having a state of gratitude really, really enforces these blessings just to come through, and then you're more aware of them, just getting out of the way. The older I am, it's like the simpler I want things to be. And I do a lot of clearing work. I've done, I had 7 months of clearing work with one of your guests, in fact. And I was so happy to see that you had interviewed Christina Schwind, because very powerful friend and medicine woman in my life, and the work that she does, I can't recommend her anymore, because it's simple and it's innate and it's available to every one of us. And that's where I really appreciate that, we have these soul groups of people that are reaching more and more soul groups of people, because this is a very important time that we have to clear our shit. This is it. You know, all those contracts are null and void. You got to let them go. And it's acknowledging it and letting it go. And whatever is holding it here, you know, it's gonna leave. It will leave, you know, or face annihilation. I kind of like to annihilate stuff, but it's not very healthy. I try not to do it. I just laugh about it now. You know, it's like these entities will either leave or face an annihilation, you know. So we've got a lot more power than we give ourselves credit for. We are such powerful conscious creators.
Yes, absolutely. And I can't help but wonder that there's been a lot of stories of people in nursing homes, either the husband or the wife passes away, and then within a matter of minutes, hours at most, the spouse passes away. My maternal grandfather, still alive at the ripe old age of 90. I can't help, everybody's thinking that he'll outlive the grandmother, but if they're really so connected, maybe he'll, shortly after she goes, he'll be going. Do you have anything to say about that phenomenon?
I think that it's a contract that we make, you know, and it's like you've never made a contract with, say, an off-world being that might be holding on to some of your soul pieces or whatever it might be. I mean, at one point, the contract serves both parties. So even when it comes to like our families, you know, we've made contracts and agreements for lifetimes and keep coming back with that. And I think, you know, the grandparents and things like that, I mean, it's like, we're not going to, like, the younger people aren't really going to be able to see much of that. I mean, that's a blessing for you to have your grandparents live into the 90s. I thought that my mother would live well into her 90s. And, you know, she was 76 when she crossed, you know, and I heard a reader tell me that, oh, you're going to live. Well, I heard her tell my mother, you're going to live well into your 90s. So it was kind of like I wasn't expecting my mother and you know, to cross. And I really think that could have blocked me from paying more attention to her, which I don't like that. I don't like that idea. So in fact, I had another clearing done while I was staying at my mom's house. And, you know, while you know, I was living with my mom and doing all I could for her. And I needed to do some clearing work then. And I think it helps everyone. It helps everyone in our family if we're, you know, clearing these old contracts and things like that. But again, it goes into your belief system and your conditioning. Especially what I wanted to say about these relationships with grandparents. You know, the younger generations now, they're not gonna have that as a source of reference. I've always seen it like, if there's people that have been able to stay married and be happy all these years, how many lifetimes did they come back to work that out, to be able to obtain that? Because isn't that always the wish of this story? The story that humanity is given, that, you know, what do? You go to school, and you get a job and you get married and you have kids. And then you spend the rest of your life stressed out at this point, because it's all designed by the system to keep you enslaved and, you know, I mean, all those kinds of things. But anymore, we're the ones that are in control, and they know it, and we're seeing it on this planet right now. We're seeing what's happening, and we're not dying fast enough. And the coronavirus, I think that the number one way to get sick is to be sick in your mind, or to allow your vibrations to you know, go dense to a state of density. You will attract sickness in your life. I think any one of us can know that, you know, knows that we could talk ourselves into being sick. Well, we can talk ourselves into being healthy. And then there's tools, and there's food, and there's nutrition, and there's things that are available to us that aren't chemicals, that can keep us from getting sick. And let me just say this about the coronavirus, because you seem like a conspiracy dude to me. I have a prediction.
Well, actually, before you give your prediction on the coronavirus, I just need to point out, though, that you're mentioning the word coronavirus. I should point out Carrie Cassidy. She just did another thing where she was recalling what Mark Richards told her. Whenever she would have said the word coronavirus, she actually held up a thing with a paper that has the word coronavirus on it. She was doing that apparently out of fear that her YouTube channel would, because of political correctness purposes, get the boot because of her saying that word. Now, I'm not
Right.
a political
Well, I
correct
mean, it's
guy,
a
so I don't
reality
worry
for
about
everybody.
that.
You can't go anywhere and not see it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go anywhere and not see it. I mean, and that's what I mean. The planet is facing that. Look at what's going on in China. Then, you know, I'm not going to talk about any fear mongering. I think it's a reality. Well, I'll say that about it. It's a reality. It's not my reality. It's not a reality that I'm choosing to experience. But, you know, we don't know what could happen. I mean, we take a lot of stuff for granted in the United States. We really do. Oh, that would never happen here. Oh, you know, what do we have to be afraid of? And those types of things, you know, I mean, whatever people are thinking. Anymore, the less I feel everything is better, you know. But I think that the worst in what we could consider a pandemic hasn't even showed up yet. Hasn't even showed up. And I think that what humanity on a global scale will be hit with next, probably to push the agendas even further, will be a sexually transmitted disease, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, you know, and I want to say this too, because there's hope in everything, and there's a truth behind every. Oh, I don't know. It's a created reality, I guess, an imposed reality, AI, all those types of things. You know, there's always an agenda behind it. But what we're seeing too, when AIDS came out, and again, it targeted specific groups of people, you know, and they've done this over and over again with experimenting with whatever viruses they wanted to come up with. But what we're seeing, this is what I think is the most important thing, is that a lot of babies that are born with AIDS anymore just simply outgrow it out of the mother's womb. And anything that is man-made, okay, that is put here with an agenda to cause harm, it will cease to exist. I totally believe that in my heart, that it'll cease to exist. So I think that if we have man-made viruses and illnesses, pandemics and things like that that are inserted into society and the human race, then we as spiritual beings, you know, what kind of control would we have over those types of things? And I think even just how we're created, it won't last. And babies outgrowing AIDS and never having it from their parents is a beautiful thing. So I think that we can find a positive in everything.
Absolutely. And you say I'm a conspiracy dude ever since
I thought maybe.
Well, I don't try not to talk about it as much as I did back in the day, in the old days of doing this this radio show, when I would do an Alex Jones 10-minute news segment at the beginning of the shows, and I was on Blog Talk. But I don't do that anymore because it's now Skype records, and well, there's other reasons and all that. But the idea of diseases, might as well stay on this subject for a moment, because, well, you said anything that's made in a biolab will eventually have to run out because it's not compatible. Well, it's a shame that hasn't happened with Lyme disease yet. I've had to deal with 2 bouts of the illness ever since I've become a nature lover, and I'm sure it has something to do with infected ticks. I don't think the Lyme disease bacteria is as airborne as some people.
Oh, they've said that is a bioweapon that was actually released by the military, they say.
Yeah, so I mean, the sad truth is there doesn't seem to be any way to get rid of Lyme disease other than a synthetic antibiotic, and that's kind of a disturbing thought to think that it would come to that, or is there a way, and we just haven't found that way, to make a natural antibiotic that could get rid of that, so people don't have to be fearful of going.
Right, and you don't know what exists in, you know, nature that would be beneficial to that. I mean, we don't really. I mean, there's people that study nutrition, but they don't teach you that in school. They're not teaching you how to live. They don't teach you how to pay your taxes. You know, they don't teach you how to do that stuff. You know, and it's like the things that we talk about, it's all mystery school. They don't tell you that. It's a desire to know as we're remembering what we're coming into this experience for. You know, we keep coming back into this experience, you know, because we choose to. And a lot of it is, it's love. We've got love here, and we're trying to assist humanity. And everything comes down to consciousness. Everything is a state of consciousness. The dimension that we're in, we are the third dimension, and that's a consciousness. Okay, it's a body consciousness. We live on 2D. Everything that happens to 2D happens to our bodies. So if the water is poisoned and at dis-ease, the planet's at dis-ease, then we're going to have dis-ease within our bodies. And there's so many levels that these things have to be cleared up. And that's why I think everybody is talking about, ascension into the fifth dimension. Well, the fifth dimension is your heart. It's like, that's where it lives. It's unity consciousness. It's when you no longer experience duality. Because as soon as you leave the third and the fourth dimension, there's no more duality. And I think that is such a powerful meditation for people. It's not good, it's not bad. Move away from the duality. And then you see things from a completely new perspective, and you're not judging it. And then you can have true empathy for those that are suffering in this experience.
Oh yeah, and the whole duality thing, that is a whole agree to disagree can of worms regarding people who say when you go with the flow of life, is it good to acknowledge things like the yin yang in reality and flow with it? But then there's people like Lily Earthling, who of all things, she actually on a Facebook post that I posted recently said that Cryon is artificial intelligence. Where is she getting that idea? She puts down people too much, I think, but she has some fun things to say, interesting things to say, and she said that the yin yang symbol is not our best interest to use that symbol because it keeps us in a state of duality. But then again, if you're not going to go with duality, then you're not going to be able to flow as well as you would if you're focusing on trying to be all.
It's still a fractal. It's a fractal. Okay, it's going to keep repeating itself. And it's like, I look at symbols too, because I use sacred geometry in the tools that I make for people. I'm very picky, very picky. And I've heard a lot of, from people higher up, that, a lot of the sacred geometry that I'm using is a trap, and it's like, the way I look at it is everybody is on their own level of awareness. Okay. And I would believe that I'm putting these tools into people's hands that want to be aware of their higher self and to be an asset to humanity. I would like to think that, okay, that they're going into the hands of people that want to assist and heal and be love and be joy, those types of things. Oh shoot, I kind of lost my train of thought with that. I think it was going to be kind of beautiful.
I have my train of thought hosting this show all the time. And,
it's like it happens more and more and more, and I gotta kind of enjoy it. And usually I can get it back. I can usually get it back. But I mean, I was talking about symbols, and everything is an evolution, is what I was saying. And the chakras is an evolution. Okay, you have to understand how the chakras are basically working in your body at that level to begin with. Okay. And then you can evolve into another state of awareness when it comes to how the energy vortexes in your body, work, for example. It's like you don't have to use all 7 of those chakras. You've got these toroidal fields, you got 3 of them, these big toroidal fields within your body, and if you're connected to the higher self, that's the top of one, your soul star connection, and then the iron core crystal in the center of the earth, the first dimension, that bottom toroidal energy touches it. So, we're all at a place where we're evolving in our awareness. So that's one of the things that's important. I tell people, like younger people, just keep your awareness about you. Use your discernment, because we're constantly learning. We're constantly being given signs and information. I mean, I find that to be so beautiful. And it's got to be fun while we're here, because we've got a lot of new souls coming here and going, what the hell is going on? And they don't really realize, younger children, they're kids. They're not understanding why they're here, and they're ready to go. And it could get kind of sticky within the next 3 years, I'm thinking. But I'm not going to put any energy into that anymore. I'm not. I think that we need to be aware and keep our awareness about us and then move accordingly.
Fair enough, and of course, big things are bound to come in 2024. That's the end of Pluto and Capricorn. That's when we got that eclipse that's going to transverse America, the opposite of the one that happened in 2017. And I'll be in Carbondale, Illinois on April 8th, 2024 for that eclipse, the day after I turned 38 years old, by the way. So, but
Oh, wow,
other
you're really young.
yeah, people think I'm an old man on this show, but no, I'm not. But anyhow, one thing that I do have in my genes apparently, Pleiadians. Michelle Walling told me I have some Pleiadian in me, and I see that that seems on your website, Pleiadian Cosmic Healing. That's a motif, and it's funny how Pleiadian has all of a sudden become a big motif around my environment, among other things. Matt Kahn's Pleiadian Prophecy. That was aired back in 2013, but I didn't listen to it
Oh,
until
that's good
now.
stuff.
And
Yeah,
I
that's
should have
good.
listened to that because it kept showing up on the YouTube sidebar, and I was like, okay, I don't think I'm going to watch this now, but why does it keep appearing? And eventually I did, and all of a sudden I found out Ancient Aliens, their Saturday episode, new episode, is actually going to be Pleiadian based, and I just had a guest who talked about the
Oh, wow.
Pleiadians trying to activate 20, I think it was something dealing with 24 strands of DNA. She was talking about Wendy Martinez was my guest a couple days ago about and that's Pleiadian based, and I hear I'm a Pleiadian, and Pleiadians are out now because that's in Taurus and this time of
Well,
year. So
the Pleiadians are the keepers of the fifth dimension. So of course, they're really assisting in the ascension. And we rub up against all those star systems. We rub up against all those energies on our way here. And it's like the Syrians are the keepers of the sixth dimension. That's where all the blueprints are created, is in the sixth dimension, which is really cool. So it's fun to be able to talk with all of them. And I could really recommend Barbara Hand Clow's book Alchemy of the Nine Dimensions, because she wrote the Pleiadian agenda first, which was an activation for a lot of people. And then with the Alchemy of the Nine Dimensions, it's using the templates that were gifted to her to help humanity in its I guess its quest for deeper knowledge, because and the fact that it's coming in waves. 2012 was huge. That was the end of linear time. Everybody was like, oh, nothing happened. Well, a lot happened, and it's still happening, like with the eclipse energy. And the eclipses, if you pay attention to what's going on with you, and every time that you have these eclipses, I was the total solar eclipse, I was at Serpent Mound in 2017 when that went down. And what a powerful experience. What a lot in my life changed. A lot of, man, I can't keep doing this way in my life anymore, and making really substantial changes and how to move forward. And then with losing my mom, boy, everything just, it's balls to the wall now. It's like, keep moving forward, Shari. Do the work and do more of it, and keep going.
I was in South Carolina for that eclipse, and unfortunately clouds ruined it. But that's, I guess, the universe saying this is not the eclipse that you should be concerned about. The one in 2024 is the one you should be concerned about. And I can't imagine that at the crisscross point in Carbondale, Illinois, in April 8th, 2024, that the gods are going to allow for clouds to cover that eclipse. So I got to make sure I go there and see that one.
Well, you better have your cloud busters on hand.
I got a nice consolation prize though, because I went to Charleston because that's where my nephew, my brother, and his son, and two sons now, are living, and so I got a nice consolation prize getting to see him and go coochie coochie coo to his little baby face and all that after not being able to see the eclipse. That was a sight for sore eyes. But you're mentioning this thing about Pleiadians being like the fifth dimension, Syrians being sixth dimension, and this makes me think I've heard all this stuff about how planet, like our sun, is not our only star. We got the Pleiades system and the Sirius system orbiting around our solar system, and our solar system is said to actually have two stars. There are allegedly people like George Kvaslis and Alex Collier have said that there's a star on the other side of the sun that we can't see because it orbits the same rate as the Earth. It's basically the male twin of the sun, in a sense, like in Cain and Abel, Aim,
Hmm.
Kill, that kind of thing. And I
Yep.
mean, so I mean, the nature of our universe is a lot more complicated than we're led to believe. And kudos to the Thunderbolts Project YouTube channel. All the stars powered by nuclear fusion bull crap. That's got to get relegated to the dustbin of history, because that's not the way the
Oh, you
universe
don't like the
works.
Thunderbolts of the Gods? I love that work, man.
No,
I
well,
love that.
I said no. I said Thunderbolts Project. Thunderbolts Project is
Okay.
yeah, they're talking about the electric universe theory, pushing and getting rid of the nuclear fusion theory and helping make sense of all the
Yeah,
forces.
there wasn't a Big Bang.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and dark energy and dark matter and black holes are not what mainstream science leads us to believe, and supernovas aren't either. And uh, love to get Walt Thornhill as guest on this show to talk about that, but
I
that's
mean, I think it's fun to like explore all these different theories. I mean, the flat Earth theory and everything. I mean, it's fun to listen to what
I
they have to
debated
say, because you know what?
Fibonacci. That was a
We know nothing. And the
yeah.
more that you think that you know, the more you know that you know nothing. And how healthy and beautiful is that? And how you can have a sense of wonder to all of these things that are happening in front of us. I mean, it's all a gift. I mean, I know a lot of stuff that I don't want to know about, and it's not always easy. It's not always comfortable, but I thank, the universe and creator that we're given these things, especially at this time, to want to propel us forward, because there is no other, there hasn't been a more important time to be alive. And I'm looking back through all my many lifetimes, and thank God for every one of them. And thank God for the diversity that we have here. And I mean, it's a shame about separation, because that's the biggest agenda on this planet right now, is to separate everybody. And if people can't see that it's frickin' politics that is the worst at this. I mean, first it was religion, now, politics. And it's just ridiculous. It's about a language. That's a language. I never understood that language. I don't want to. And people think that they're smart because they understand the political language. And it's frustrating to me, but I don't want to get mad about stuff. I don't want to get mad about anything. And I'm pretty pissed off that Hillary's not in jail. But what do you got to choose joy.
Funny you mention that. I still haven't taken off the Hillary for Prison 2016 sticker on the back of my car, and I have no intention of taking it off until the intention of that sticker is met. And I just put a new sticker on the bottom left corner of the back of the car, the Libertarian sticker. I'll be attending that conference in
Oh
Austin,
boy.
Texas in May, and I just watched Dave Champion, the author of Income Tax Shining the Mist, do a video on how a lot of libertarians, hypocrites, there's certain times where they don't seem like they're about liberty. I mean, when it comes to the politicians running for office, Dave Champion said he tries to push his books to show that the income tax, it doesn't apply to the Americans earning income in the 50 several states of America. It applies to U.S. territories, among other things. But when he tries to push that in libertarian groups, they tell him to shut up. And because the politicians, they couldn't get anywhere if they didn't talk about how to use taxpayer money to pay for certain things. Well, of course,
They have used taxpayer money to fund every war, everything that they're doing. And I love this like silliness about like Bloomberg, and I think it came out today. And Anomaly, who's one of my favorite dudes ever, I just love that he can stay so impartial and aware of all these different sides. And, he's not choosing. I think he's just given the information out there. But anyway, he just posted this about Bloomberg, paid $500 million in his ad campaign. Well, there's like, what, 367 million people on the planet. Like, he could have gave every individual on the planet $1 million and still had lunch money, and they talked about it on TV, and like, it's like just a joke. It's like, these are the people that people want to spend their time listening to. And what are they doing for humanity? What has the government done for you? And I ask that question all the time, and I can't understand the attraction to the ridiculousness that's happening.
Well, they say that the higher our level of collective consciousness is, the less need for a government to protect us in the event that forces that we can't stop ourselves are too strong and we need government to protect us. So the key is to expand our consciousness and all that. And well, there seems to be other ways of having a government or some sort of council of elders, if that makes sense. Now, this may tie in some way to something I want to talk about with you, the controversial issue of whether or not the entities that you communicate with may or may not be artificial intelligence. And this is very pertinent in the present day, especially considering that, like, well, among other things, Lily Earthling saying that Cryon is artificial intelligence, and also the whole Cosmic Agency YouTube channel versus Tolek and Alfred Weber thing, where Alfred Weber and Tolek, the Andromeda Council Contactee Tolek, are of the opinion that Gosha, the Cosmic Agency YouTube channel girl, is not communicating with Taygete and Pleiadean extraterrestrial, but is communicating with an entity that's artificial intelligence masquerading as a Taygete and Pleiadean extraterrestrial. And the whole crux of this seems to be that Tolek's Andromeda Council contacts, one of them, come from Taygete. They are basically saying there is no way that this entity that is channeling the Cosmic Agency YouTube channel can exist, and we are not aware of it with our state of consciousness. But the idea that it's actually an artificial intelligence to confuse us, well, it's not doing a very good job. I've been listening to the Cosmic Agency YouTube channel, and there's only like a small handful of things I could actually take as being conflicting with other things I've heard, and a lot of the info there seems to be of the light, of the good, and I can't imagine that listening to it is harmful. So where this conflict is coming from, it's a shame, but I need to ask you, how do you know you're channeling the real thing, and do you have anything to say about this for those that say, well, okay, we got to use discernment, but when you hear people attacking others like this, mudslinging style, if you can call it that, how do you make sense of it?
Well, I am going to use the word discernment, and it's like what resonates in your soul. And the AI, and people feel like it's communicating through them, and they have no control over that. We have the right and the responsibility to ask if our thoughts belong to us. I mean, 90% of what we can think in a day won't be ours. I mean, we're empathic, we're intuitive beings, we're all connected. And so a lot of the times what you're thinking about does not belong to you. Now, whether or not it's AI, do I think that they can use that technology to influence people's thoughts and to make them do things? Yes, I totally do think that that is possible. I think it's happening. I think it's happened for years. I mean, we can go back to Manchurian candidates. I think it is happening. I think that there's a lot of people that have this increased awareness and have been growing, to take part in the dissolving of these particular systems on this planet. And I've been having these questions, for years. What's going to happen to those that are not increasing their vibration? And I started asking this in the 80s. And my mother at the time had said, well, they'll just cease to exist. And I'm like, well, that makes sense to me, but I don't understand that. And then I brought it up in a group that I was in, and this woman said, well, then you're creating your own chosen if you believe that. I'm like, oh man, now I'm going to have to take a look at that, So for years, I was asking this question, what's going to happen to people when they don't increase their vibration? And definitely 2012 was the end of linear time and taking us on a whole new trajectory with what can happen to the human race. And as a galactic society, totally changed and opened up everything. So we're lucky enough to have been gifted a lot of intelligence on these subjects that have happened, and what has been the base of the AI movement. So I think that we really should educate ourselves as much as possible on what's going on. And Agenda 21 is really, really, really important. And I'm a Nasera girl too. I've been studying Nasera since 2008. And, that's what I could see to be the best for humanity. But so we've got this energy on the planet that does not want to see us evolve or ascend, if you will, into fifth dimension. They don't want to see it. But if we're birthing a new world, the old world and the new world exist simultaneously. And you choose which one you are going to be in by where you vibrate, what your frequency is. And that's your thoughts. So I think a lot of this energy that we are up against that does not have good intentions for humanity, let it be what it is. But it is not part of my existence. And I think that the more of us that understand that these two worlds are going to exist simultaneously, are going to have an easier time distinguishing the path that they should be, that they should have their feet on.
You mentioned that Nasara thing, and that's the thing that's driving a lot of people crazy. I mean, Tolek, said
because they don't have the right information. I'm telling you what, they need to go back to the beginning. I mean, when I hear somebody talk about Nasara, I'm like, that's not Nasara, not at all, not at all. What they're saying about it, it's like that means the government is no more. Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, Obama, Clinton's, all of them arrested immediately upon the announcement. And I mean it was signed into a law. I've been waiting for it forever. I've been telling other people about Nasara for years. I'm friends with Neil Keenan, friends with a woman who ran for president of Austria, who was working with the God, Sky, Earth movement. And I came across her, and I think it was in 2012. And she actually sent me a letter that she wrote to Christine Lagarde about healing the economy. And of course, they didn't let it happen back then. And they're still fighting against it. And there's not a reset. There's not a reform. It needs to all dissolve. It needs to be transmuted, not transformed, transmuted, and we start over is the way I see it to happen. There is no reset. That bugs me.
Okay, well, if we, I was going to say, as Tolek has said that he's going to say 10 to 15 year period where humanity transitions to no money, how can that period possibly get started if we don't stop having the banks loan us money that doesn't exist?
Well, not even that. Time doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. How can you put the constraint of years on that? I mean, we really cannot follow Gregorian calendars. We can't follow time. It doesn't. I don't know how people have jobs. I really don't. I don't understand, but that's me, I mean, it takes so much energy to make it through a day. I don't know how people have time to have jobs and kids.
I actually work 9 to 5
cook.
For my mother. It's and if she means more to me than anyone or anything in the world, so I actually get satisfaction out of it, and I love it. And I have the hardest job in the office as the file room clerk. Don't think I have it easy from nepotism, because I don't. It's pretty back-breaking, but I still enjoy it. And well, that's kind of the way the world seems to have to run when the banks are loaning us money that doesn't exist and charges interest on it. How do we expect to get to the gold standard? I mean, that is the perfect stepping stone, I think, to transition to no money at all.
Well, we don't even know where the gold is. I mean, have you heard where the gold is? I think Neil Keenan knows where the gold is. Well, but it's I
might know where it is.
It's not in Fort Knox. I mean, it's not been there since what, the 30s?
Am I going to get?
There's no gold at Fort Knox. But it doesn't leave. This is the thing. The gold does not leave the planet. All right, it doesn't leave. We didn't take it to frickin' Nibiru. It's such bullshit. Whatever gold we have here is still here. And so. To go back to a gold standard silver, using silver, I mean, I just started buying gold and silver. I think that it would be smart to do so. I've always thought I was lucky enough to have like a mother that loves silver jewelry, and I have silver jewelry. So, we're a little ahead of the game, but it ought to be interesting. And, I've told you I don't jump on anybody's bus, right? Like I've never jumped on the Q bus or anything like that. I observe that. And I don't know enough about Q to talk about it like I know something. Okay. I do follow some of the things that are out there. I don't support anybody in politics. Totally impartial on the Trump thing. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I'm watching what he's doing. I can't listen to the speech that got him elected and not like agree with what he was saying, But do I think he's a savior? No, I don't. And this is interesting because some friends of mine and I are talking about this. There's a bunch of videos out. Oh, darn it. I'd have to look and see what it is. It's about the cabal. There's these 9-part videos.
Well, I can also tell you that some person I interviewed sent me a book that she wrote called Trump, the Enigma of Society. So I know where you're going with this.
Well,
And,
no, it's Fall of the Cabal is the YouTube channel. Okay, now she put out this series of 10 videos, right? And I mean, I know about, the Pizzagate scandals, all those types of things, false flags, Sandy Hook, all of it, I've been watching it since they began, and so a lot of those things I already know about. I think that she covers it, doesn't necessarily give enough information to the people who are just now getting, being aware of it and open to it. But where she goes in the end of it, right? I just love this. This makes me happy and giddy to think about, right? The whole, well, nobody would listen to Trump if there was some kind of savior that would come to assist in, draining the swamp, if you will, or, arresting all of these politicians that need to be arrested for their crimes against humanity and, doing away with those that the corporations that support our government that, are the biggest human traffickers ever, right? Yes. And it's global. But anyway, so nobody's going to listen to Trump because of all the separation. So who would be the one person if they were alive? Okay. Because anybody that we can think of that we really loved that might have some political say in something, they're all dead, right? So who would be the one person that could be the savior, right? So she hits on this in the 10th video that we would need a king. We would need the return of the king that would, usher in all of this information and be the one to put an end to, the corruption and the lies and the deceit that we've all lived with. So who would that be? You know this, right?
well, I guess Trump is going to win a second term. For sure. The Democrats don't seem to know jack squat. Also, interesting thing about Trump, he was born on the day of an eclipse. Was it a lunar or a solar? Do you know off the top of your head? Because
I don't know, but it's not. I'm not asking about Trump. Like, if there was one person that would be alive that would be the king, and that people would be so overjoyed to hear what he had to say, and that he was still alive, who do you think that would be?
oh, I don't know what answer you're expecting me to give. 'Cause,
John F. Kennedy Jr.
um, he was probably murdered by George W. Bush.
He's not dead.
Oh, he's not? Really?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. So, I mean, I'm telling people, go watch the video on Fall of the Cabal. It's the 10th one. You should watch all of them, but the 10th one, it talks about this. And it's really kind of fascinating. It just made me cry and it made me happy to think that this could possibly be true. And I think it was the Last George magazine that he put out before his so-called death, that it was a time traveler edition, and says that George makes his return in 2020. And there's also on the side of the magazine, Hillary arrested. Will Hillary finally be indicted? Is on there. And then something else about Bill Gates, because, once the truth comes out and once humanity is free, no more chemicals in the skies, no more chemicals in our food, no more chemicals in our bodies. No more chemicals. No more war. None of that. I mean, can we think about a world that would be, I mean, when people talk about going to the fifth dimension, what does that mean? It means that we're in heaven, right? It means we're in joy. It means that there is no more duality. You can't have war and peace.
There's one issue that very much pertains to this in the present day that seems to be a huge agree to disagree issue, and that is the borders issue. Open borders doesn't work in the real world because humans are tribal. They have different languages and different currencies. Of course, if that wasn't the case, we could open the borders and all, but it does seem kind of all anti-5D to force people to go through a vetting process to cross the border of a country. Aren't we all humans? Well, of course, all the patriots and Alex Jones of Infowars, and Trump too, he's all about making borders like
Well,
immigration.
I mean, without a doubt.
Okay.
All right. Like the Mexican border going into Tucson is huge human trafficking going through there. Okay. Huge amounts of human trafficking, child sex trafficking. Okay. Going from Mexico into the United States, Arizona, really, really big problem. Huge across all of the borders into Mexico. And that alone is what's supplying the corruption on the planet. Okay. And who opened the borders? It was Obama that opened the borders wide up here, you know? And why? Because they're all involved in the human trafficking. There's more money in human trafficking than weapons or drugs. So, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm all for, building a wall and things of that nature, but there are problems at the border, and you got to look at why people don't want that, especially the politicians don't want Trump to fulfill any of his agendas. You got to ask why. It's because they're all involved, is the way that I see it, and we do need to do something with the borders.
Right. There are a lot of the powers that be that don't want the borders because that would keep the global government from not being able to manifest because that part of their agenda is to do that. But one thing I would like to discuss with you about the future of humanity and technology and all, and how it plays with our consciousness. David Icke did say 2030 he thinks the year where humanity will basically merge with the machines, but I'm sure he's talking about it being a positive time. Even though he talks about a lot of negativity, he did say in his 9-hour talks and all that ever since 2012 the frequency will keep increasing, and be basically love-based and all that. But it's interesting how in the Terminator movies 2029, 1 year before 2030, those movies were on a negative timeline, of course, was when the Terminator was sent back to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor. The humans had merged with machines there, but the machines had taken over. We're not really going to see something like that. We're going to, I think, work better with machines. I myself have learned how to work better with machines. I actually just bought this little device that has the ability to translate languages, and I think if I ever do tour the world at one point, this little device that I have is going to come in very, very handy to speak to other people in foreign languages, and that's using machines to your advantage to communicate and, well, expand consciousness. So how can humanity, up until 2030, the magic number that David Icke says here that it'll happen, expand our consciousness while at the same time work with machines in a way that's compatible with expanding consciousness and working with machines?
Well, I mean, you have to be a lover of technology. I mean, there's a lot of beauty in technology, I mean, even in the Powder movie, and Goldberg or whatever his name is, he had said that our technology had surpassed our humanity. And there is a danger in that. And we're seeing that. That's what's happening today. But for as much as they talk about 5G, sending out a frequency that can be damaging to the human race, well, the very opposite could take place too. Why can't you send out a vibration or a frequency that would lift humanity, to increase our well-being, to clear our thoughts, or whatever it might be? So just as much as they can do something that would be harmful to the human race, there's technology that could be beneficial to the human race. I mean, why do you think they killed, Tesla? Was, let's control that. Let's enslave people and make them have to pay us for the energy that would normally be free. I mean, it's been a sick agenda, and we're out of that age of Pisces. It can't keep going on. You can't have the matriarchal society be at the head now and still be playing the same games. It's not going to happen. And I think every time that we change hierarchies, matriarchal, patriarchal, there's 5,500 years in these cycles. We've already started our 5,500 year cycle. It was like between 2010 and 2013. I said 2013. Somebody said I was wrong. Whatever. But we are in the matriarchal now. And as a woman, and moving forward, we have to do this and come to unity without having a hierarchy within the matriarchal. And I think all of these things are available already. I believe in the hearts of man, and I believe that the hearts of man are open and that they are ready, and that we're going to have everything that we need to heal this situation and the consciousness of this planet. I've always had this big theory that, I think it would be it's a great theory and a great idea if everybody just lost their memories. All at the same time, everybody lost their memories. What are you going to do? The first thing you do, you see somebody, you're going to fall in love with them. You're not going to have anything but love, because that's who we are. If you have a soul, love. I believe that our soul resides within our heart. And, that everybody talks about this, 5D, ascending to 5D. It's right there in the heart. You can be there anytime you choose to be. And, that's what the Great Awakening and everybody is waiting for, is people to come to that realization of how powerful they are as individuals, powerful conscious creators. We can create and manifest whatever we need. And I can't tell people that unless I'm doing it. I believe that I'm a powerful conscious creator and that I can manifest. And the way that I have given, I turned over any kind of expectation I had in how I was going to live my life, and I went with it. I went with my own freedom, my own sovereignty within myself. And I created the life that I want. And I'm grateful that I'm able to do it. I'm grateful that I can be of service, even if it's making discs and putting these in people's hands. I believe I'm being of service to humanity. And there is no lack of causes that somebody can get behind and start their own business. We don't need to be enslaved by a system. The pharmaceuticals, I think it's one of the biggest traps that we have. I think that nature gave us everything that we needed to take care of ourselves, that we were created perfectly in the eyes of Creator. And the system, it's sad to me, because I'm such an Aquarius, and people say I don't have rational thinking if I can see the beauty of a life that we can live here on this planet without all this corruption and deceit and wars and chemicals. I just see that it can be another way, and it can happen now, right now.
Well, a big stepping stone that's supposed to happen in the not too distant future. Matthias Stefano, Indigo Child from Argentina, he did say something about how in 2022, big year for me, that's the year of the tiger, is going to the grid, the secret code grid of sacred geometry, that the ley line grid around the Earth, that's going to be connected in a way that's going to allow, for all intents and purposes, for humanity to get along better with each other than they would otherwise if that connection wasn't happening. He said 2022 will be the year where that happens. Do you have anything to say about that phenomenon?
Yeah, sure. I see it coming. I can, I think that's pretty smart. There's also in 2032, there's a prophecy, and I know Chief Golden Light Eagle talks about this. There's supposed to be a comet that comes, and it's gonna hit the planet. It's supposed to hit the planet in 2032. And what they're saying is that the moon is going to take the hit, and it'll break off into two parts, and it will be less catastrophic for the planet because the moon will take the hit. So I find that to be really interesting. And I'm sorry I can't tell you any more on that, but I know Chief Golden Light Eagle has been talking about it.
I've run Chief Golden Light Eagle a couple times. Was at one of his conferences in 2017 in the Laguna Beach, California area that he was holding, and he was a speaker.
He's going to be at Serpent Mound for the equinox next weekend, the 14th and 15th. I think they start early. I mean, I recommend people go to Serpent Mound, especially if you're in Ohio, Pennsylvania, you're not that far. I mean, it's such beautiful energy. And on Facebook, there's the Friends of Serpent Mound page, and I can recommend people go and check that out because they do, a lot of ceremony, bring really good information to people, working really hard at, keeping these vibes up at these sacred sites on the planet. It's very important. And with being in Ohio, Serpent Mound is older than Egypt. I mean, it's so important, and it's right here. And with all the prophecies and the information that's coming forward, we're talking about eagles and serpents. Why is that? And why do we have Serpent Mound right here in Ohio? Why is there such a phenomenon, UFO phenomenon over Lake Erie? Because disclosure is coming, and it's already happening. I mean, it's like you got to take disclosure into your own hands if you want to have that happen and you want it to come out. We all have a responsibility of disclosing truth, and pushing towards the disclosure of truth. We should know. They've tried to bury everything from history, and we're not even allowed to investigate anything anymore. What is at the foot of the Sphinx? They don't tell you that stuff.
Right. Does Chief Golden Light Eagle have that conference at Serpent Mound yearly? Is it an annual thing? Because I can't go this year, but I think I may want to go next year.
Chief isn't always there, but I mean, if he can be there, he is. And Terry Rivera and Thomas Johnson, I believe, are the ones that are putting on, organizing these events and bringing all these speakers in. It's really, really super powerful. The Mitchell Hedges skull is going to be there. For the equinox. I mean, there are a lot of really great people. I mean, I don't mean to. It's not just about the skulls.
I have a lot of respect for Native Americans, although Chief Golden Light Eagle, he seems to be a little bit of an extremist when it comes to human potential. I mean, one of the conferences that I was at, he actually suggested that it's safe to sun gaze any time of day and not just the 45-minute window in sunrise and sunset when the UV index is at 0. He's asserting that the electromagnetic energy can go right through the body and heal everything, even with the open eyes. But I'm hearing other people say, no, the human body is not in a state of consciousness where it can handle something like that yet. You will damage your eyes if you do.
Oh, well, geez, though, talk about putting limitations on what's available through the sun. I mean, come on. I mean, sun gazing, it was intended, for enlightenment, and also all the nutrition that we need is within the sun, but the sun's not even the same as it used to be. It's not yellow, it's white. Okay, it's like all those things have changed, and it's like it's right in front of our face, the changes that have happened, especially since 2012. I mean, I can see it. I see it all over the place, and it, again, sun gazing, I think that you should look into more information about it if you have questions about it. I don't think Chief would tell anybody to, anything that would hurt them. So,
well, yeah,
there could be more to his story.
He did say that if your eyes are damaged when you're sun gazing, you're not in the right state of mind. It's supposed to be a smooth electromagnetic flow, but then again, when you have so many people on Earth buying into the belief that take it from me, I'm a sun gazer. Yes, I am, but I've had a lot of trouble being a sun gazer. Well, my mother is an ophthalmologist. You can imagine how much grief that's going to cause me. She caused me a lot of hassle, thinking that I was going to damage my eyes, and you hear stories about parents saying that I give my kids the flu from the law of attraction because I worried about them getting sick all the time. I mean, if my eyes get damaged from the sun, should I blame my mother saying you're worrying and everybody else worrying is that the sun is going to damage my eyes? It's going to cause a collective consciousness placebo effect that's going to damage my eyes, and I should blame you and not the sun for the damage that would cause. Does reality work that way? I gotta ask you this, because seems to be an unanswered question that a lot of people don't.
Yeah, what's your question again, babe? What are you asking me?
Well, I guess is there such a thing as a collective consciousness placebo effect when it comes to looking at the sun with open eyes, like in the middle of the day, and if everybody believes that that's going to hurt your eyes, so many people on earth believe that, even if you don't believe that, will the fact that so many people believe that kind of cause there to be damage to your eyes? Collective consciousness placebo effect is the best way I can explain it to make sense.
Well, I mean, then you're getting into, are you acting out of fear or are you acting out of love? Everything is either fear or love. And whatever we fear, we're going to see first, because it's the easiest to manifest. And if you want to talk about AI or, entities or attachments or anything like that that's influencing our thinking and our actions, that's why I believe it's very, very important to keep your awareness about you and know thyself. Know thyself. And collective consciousness has been used, to block out the higher dimensional information that's available to us, and they used fear to do it. So are we acting out of fear or are we acting out of love? And we have the access to all of these answers at all times. And your higher self knows everything. And so if you're in alignment with yourself and your divine truth and communicating with your higher self, have your third eye open and you're activated and you want to go and look at the sun, you're not going to have any fear in doing that. But if you lose your eyesight, I guess you could go back, hey, Mom, you're right. But other than that, I don't think that we should be in a state of fear. Use your own, inner compass.
Yeah, funny you mention a compass. Serpent mound. If you bring a compass to the serpent mound, it'll go haywire, according to Jujo Sukalosova.
There's all kinds of crazy stuff that happens there.
Yes.
I mean, if you can get onto the mound, they don't recommend it. And don't say that I told you to get on it. But if you can, put your third eye to the mouth of it, it's like the inside part where what holds the circle in the front of it, and if you can put your third eye, in the center there, it's a complete activation from the sixth dimension. It's really, really, really amazing. I mean, it's a sacred site. A lot of stuff comes up when you're there. I got triggered in so many different ways when I was there for the eclipse, and a lot came to the surface, but I'm grateful for all of it because I needed to see it and I needed to bring it to the surface and it needed to be dealt with and healed. So those are very powerful places to do that kind of work. And then you're going with a tribe of people that are holding that in their hearts and making, this wisdom available to you. So, I mean, it's really a beautiful thing. I highly recommend it.
I will look into it next year. And snakes and serpents seem to be getting into my life a lot more often. I just recently bought a pacho pipe that's of a blue snake that I smoke my tobacco out of now, and blue snake seems to be the key word that a pranic healer gave me to use whenever I feel that my
that's cool.
mouth is not saying the right proper things. But I always wear blue when I do radio because that's the throat chakra color. And then again, you hear people say you shouldn't go with the chakras, don't go with the third eye or any chakra, just go with the heart. And I say, well, yeah, that's
my goodness,
wrong with that, but you're missing out on the fun.
I love how everybody's like full of so much information, and it's like that's just what's working for them at that time, maybe. I mean, it's like I love to be an assistance of people. And if somebody asks me a question, I will answer it. And I would love that somebody gets turned on by some of the things that turn me on, that I've wanted to, research and understand and bring that awareness into my consciousness and actually live by it. I want to be somebody that somebody might find something attractive in me, that they want to know what that is and what works for me. And what worked for me might not be how they're going to, come to that awareness, but I could turn them on to something that'll take them into a new awareness. It's like with your kids, it's like my son, he's 30 now, or going to be 30 this year. And, our children have to have their own experiences, and we try and tell them, don't do that. This is what's going to happen. Well, that could have been what we feared happening to us in our experience, but they're going to have their own experience, and then they'll understand it. We can't tell anybody. We can't share our experiences to make them have a new awareness in their consciousness unless they want it, unless they really want it. And like children, they got to ask you for that information to hear you. If somebody doesn't ask you, they're not going to hear what you have to say, is something that I learned. And I learned that very, very early. And that we have a lot of conditioning that we need to break. There's a lot of conditioning, let's get out of the box and let's, create new paradigms of thinking, new ways of living and being. It's definitely time. What we've been doing doesn't work. And I don't see any fun in this political shit. I just don't get it. It's not fun. Why are we doing it? It's not important. How do they serve us? They really don't. So my message to people is, what do you want to change for yourself? What do you want to bring into your life? What do you want to do for you? How can you do that? Where can you go find the information? And if we can be somebody that can turn somebody on to a new way of thinking, it could be a book, it could be watching a video, it could be watching a movie, it could be whatever. It's up to us to, find our purpose and work it.
Absolutely. And on that note, we've almost reached the 2-hour mark, so I think this will be a good time to put the show to a close. But I will give you the chance now to get out anything you like, get out your contact info and future events, anything else that you want to say, and take us to.
Yeah, I would. I do have some things I'd like to share. I would like to invite everybody to go see the website. I do have a special on the discs right now. They're 10% off if you use the code DAYLIGHT. And that's off at any order on the website, which is Cosmic Healing Discs, discs with a C.com. And we have a Pleiadean Cosmic Healing Disc page on Facebook if you'd like to come and look at it. There's not a lot of the discs always make it to the website as well, because I can make all different types of discs, and I really enjoy doing it. And you never know what, symbol or whatever is going to speak to somebody and what they need. So I enjoy doing that. But a lot of them are going to be, limited editions. I'm not going to make them forever either. And I have a couple of shows coming up. I know a lot of your listeners might be in Pennsylvania, and I will be in Monroeville on the 14th and 15th of this month coming up here. That's a new show for me. I've not been in that area. And I'll be in Greensburg, PA for the same Kelly Simon is putting on these events, and that one will be in June. And I'm looking forward to being in that area. And I wanted to mention Robert Potter, who's in Mount Shasta and does these conferences. He did the From Venus with Love conference, and now he's doing another one that I will be attending. It's the Mount Shasta Summer Conference. The website is thepromiserevealed.com, but he's going to have Omnek Onek, the woman from Venus there, who is like just a real treasure, such a beautiful message and a beautiful soul. My friend Cosmic Ray Keller, who wrote the Venetian books, will be there, and Laura Eisenhower is going to be speaking there this year. Also, I wanted to say that I've been talking about this healing summit, and the 2020 Inter-Galactic Healing Summit will be this year, 2020, it'll happen probably in the first week of October. And I've been trying to get this healing summit and this property off the ground for years. And last year, really thought it was going to happen. And we got, you know, I had to take care of my mom, which was a blessing, but kind of derailed that. So there will be the Intergalactic Healing Summit, and we're going to start the summer healing series on the property where the summit will take place in the summer. So we can look for something happening in June. And I have another website, but it's not been really updated with what's going on, but you can get kind of a gist. And it's www.mysticsway.com, and that'll have the information for the Healing Summit.
I'm gonna hope that I get to see you at some of these events. I'm not gonna be traveling a lot this year. It's a 6 personal year for me, which has a lot to do with home life. So any travel that I do will probably be at a more localized level. But I do plan on keeping in touch with the events that I see that you're going to maybe use as a guide for what events I can go to, and I try to get out there and make my presence felt. I'm sure I'll run into you at some point or another at these events. So it was a pleasure having you on. I hope to see you in the not too distant future at one of these events somewhere down the line, if not this
That
year.
would be nice.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you having me on, Andrew. It was a pleasure to talk to you. I kind of go off the cuff. I like to discuss these matters, and I'm grateful for you for doing the work that you're doing and bringing these people out here to share their insights and their knowledge and their wisdom. So I really appreciate what you're doing, brother. It's great.
I will have this uploaded to YouTube by midnight tomorrow at the latest. I promise that to all my guests, and I'll send you a link after it's uploaded. So namaste. Thank you for coming on. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you so much. God bless. Peace.